thank you for those that are listening now or those that might be tuning into the channel, because I am here. I am Wenda Bauchspies. I am the current program director for the Ethics and Responsible Research program at the National Science Foundation in Alexandria, Virginia. That I'm here to tell the community about this funding opportunity and to share a little bit about NSF. So the National Science Foundation was started in the 1950s with a mission to promote the progress of science, advance national health, prosperity, and welfare, and to secure national defense. However, the current vision for the NSF includes the mission, but it's also that we're a global leader in research and innovation. So we like to see innovative projects that go across boundaries to help us be a leader in research, particularly on ethics. I was delighted to see the last presentation was funded by the Swedish national version of the National Science Foundation. And so we do have, there are science foundations across the globe, but NSF is the one that we use for the United States. We fund basic science research that we, especially in ER2, the initial ethical and responsible research, or ER2, that oftentimes there's an applied or a intervention component to the research we fund, but the goal is that it all has a basic research question that is generalizable to other areas behind it. NSF has 8 funding directorates. It's like a university where there are a number of colleges. The ethical and responsible research is housed within the social, behavioral, and economic sciences. However, all of the other 7 funding directorates are supportive and are part of ER2. We are a cross-directorate program. Oops, sorry about that. I didn't realize that had animated. Just briefly, NSF has core programs that are disciplinary based, but it also has cross-directorate ones, and ER2 is one of those. If you're curious about NSF, we have Dear Colleagues letters that show us where special initiatives are, and we do have international initiatives as well. To give you a sense of the Social, Behavioral, and Economic Science Directorate, we have 3 divisions, or actually we call them really 2 divisions, and then an Office of Multidisciplinary Activities. Ethics and Responsible Research is housed in the Office of Multidisciplinary Activities. However, in the other 2 divisions, you'll find traditional social science disciplines like sociology, economics, biological anthropology, cultural anthropology. So now thinking about when you do submit a proposal, it's roughly a 6-month process. So first, the PI thinks about an idea, identifies an idea, and we do encourage you to contact the program officer to share your idea to see if it is a good fit. Then you prepare the proposal, submit it, and then we put it through merit review. And the merit review is where it's reviewed by a panelist. It may be reviewed by ad hoc reviewers as well. It goes through this review cycle, and the panel will convene and rank the proposals. And then ultimately, the panel will make recommendations to the program director, who makes recommendations to the division directors, and it goes through the process. And ultimately, after about 6 months, you will hear whether your proposal is funded or not. We use a merit review criteria that is based on intellectual merit and broader impacts. This is what we tell our PIs. This is what we tell our reviewers to please look for. What is the potential to advance knowledge? Is it filling a gap? Is it innovative? Is it transformational? Does it have a potential to benefit society and can it contribute to the well-being of the community and to contribute to societal outcomes? Broader impacts are oftentimes one of the harder areas for PIs to justify strongly. And some of hints that we give from the social and behavioral and economic sciences is to think about how, think about who, and think about what your research will do to improve the quality of life in the United States. So the broader impacts are equally as important as intellectual merits. Oftentimes people overstress intellectual merits, but we do encourage you to think, how will this benefit society? Who are those stakeholders, and how will you communicate it? Now to ethics. Ethics have been happening at NSF since the history, since NSF started. The earliest award that I found was 1959 on social science variables in philosophy. So that, yeah, and that's really just, there's always been ethics, but the titles of the programs have changed. That now we are ethical and responsible research, but previously we were cultivating cultures for ethical STEM. Before that, we were ethics, education and science and engineering, and before that, the ethics in society. But what's really exciting about the conversation and the value for funding research on ethics at NSF is, you can see from this chart that it has grown. That in 2005, we had 5 directorates involved with $1.5 million. In 2019, we had 8 directorates with $3.5 million. And actually the good news is we are up to $5.2 million from all 8 directorates. We recently updated the solicitation. We just passed our target date. It was February 17th next year. It will be January 23rd. We aim to give 10 to 15 awards. In the new solicitation, we removed the limitation of 1 proposal per institution and replaced it with a limitation on 2 proposals per principal investigator or co-PI. We have also fine-tuned the synopsis, introduction, and program description of what we're looking to fund to reflect NSF priority areas, as well as to reflect current research issues. For ER2, we fund 4 different types of projects. We do conference projects or workshop proposals for up to $50,000. We do incubation projects, which are designed to bring a new partnership together and give them a year to get their partnership up and running, do some preliminary research. We are hoping that these incubator projects are done with minority serving institutions to broaden the scope of ER2. We also do research grants, which are 3 years with a total budget that's up to $400,000, but it can be less. We also do institutional transformation research grants, which are for 5 years and potentially up to $700,000. So what does ER2 hope to fund? Well, our core mission for the last 15, 20 years has been to produce knowledge about what constitutes or promotes responsible or irresponsible conduct of research and why, as well as to think about how to best instill the responsible conduct of research into researchers, practitioners, and educators at all career stages. So we look to identify factors that are effective in the formation of ethical science and technology and engineering and mathematics. We look to fund approaches to developing these factors in all STEM fields, and to think about why and how these factors and approaches increase responsibly conducted research. Some of the potential areas that we welcome research in is in bias, representation, culture, values, transparency, diversity, equity, and inclusion, prevention of sexual harassment in STEM, ethics, ethical norms of Indigenous and international STEM research, ethics of data governance, environmental change, climate mitigation, adaptation research, artificial intelligence, sensor data, quantum research, bioeconomy, ecosystems, and advanced communication technologies. This is not an exhaustive list. This just reflects some of NSF priorities and the changing research landscape, but we are open to new and innovative ideas that fill the gaps. Potential questions that a researcher could ask include what constitutes responsible conduct of research and why? What are the cultural and institutional contexts that incentivize and promote ethical STEM and why? What are emerging areas of ethical research and what are their implications? Excuse me. What practices contribute to the establishment and maintenance of ethical cultures? How do we transfer, extend, and integrate these practices into other research and learning settings? What are ethical issues that are challenging the relationships in doing research? And how can we empower our research participants and our researchers to do more equitable, diverse, and responsible research? And also thinking about what data governance or other potentially ethics-related issues are shaping and impact the use of STEM, as well as what is challenging the responsible research as we do an ever-increasing broadening international research environment. Excuse me, my apologies. So the ER2 program welcomes qualitative and quantitative projects or mixed methods approaches. We do ask our PIs to practice best practices for responsible research and the co-creation of knowledge equitably. And we ask them to share findings with the Online Ethics Center for Engineering and Science. So once your proposal is put through the process of merit review, the reviewers will rate it as excellent, very good, good, fair, and poor. The panel will then evaluate and bin all of the proposals as highly competitive, competitive or not competitive for funding. And if you submit and you get a proposal back that says it's not competitive, in my book, it just means it's not ready for prime time. The reviewers found issues that they would like to see strengthened. And I'm gonna move along. Oops. Proposals, when they are declined, they have failed to communicate a sound theoretical framework or their connection to the relevant literature, or they have failed to communicate their research design well, or they haven't given it additional details on their methods, or they have a sound theoretical framework, they have sound methodology, but they don't align. And this is more common than you would expect, that oftentimes there's a really good foundation theoretically, really good methods, but they don't quite connect. And so these are reasons that proposals might get declined. Other reasons that they may get declined is they don't respond to the solicitation, they didn't follow directions, unfortunately. It's either too focused, it's not generalizable, the project is too applied, or unfortunately, the anticipated contribution is incremental. And sometimes simply, we don't have enough funding to fund all the proposals. So we do encourage proposals are resubmitted, and we find that it builds relationships. You receive excellent reviews from experts, and it forces you to think. So we do think it's worthwhile, even though we apologize we're not able to fund every proposal all the time. And should you revise or not? Typically, proposals come in on an average of 2.3 times before they are awarded. Unfortunately, we're only funding 20% of the proposals, even though 30% of them are potentially eligible for funding. And yeah, basically mentioned those. So if you are thinking to submit a proposal, I highly encourage you to contact a program officer. Please don't call us. We, like everybody else, is incredibly busy, but please email us, and email us with a 1 to 2 page prospectus of your project that introduces the project, that addresses intellectual merits and broader impacts. That way we can look at it. If it doesn't fit our proposal or if it doesn't fit our program, we can easily forward it on to another program officer, and it can be more, save everyone some time. But going back to our ethics, through the course of NSF's history, we have funded 4 resource centers for ethics, and we encourage you to visit them. There is the one at the Illinois Institute of Technology on ethics education. There is another one at the University of Mass Amherst on international dimensions of ethics education and science and engineering. There is one at the University of Illinois, the National Center for Principled Leadership and Research Ethics. And then there is the Online Ethics Center, the most recently funded one, where actually I have a slide for them, where they have relaunched their website last year. They've added a new look as well as communities of practice, which I'm really excited to see. This is a great networking place, and I encourage you to visit it. One important notice is for those of you that have submitted to NSF in the past, Fastlane is being retired at the end of 2022. Research.gov will be replacing it. If you are looking to submit a proposal this year, I would encourage you try research.gov, give it practice with it, use it before Fastlane disappears. As I mentioned earlier, we are a team of 9 who are the working group for this program. And we have program officers from all of the directorates. And with that, I thank you, and I welcome questions if we have a few minutes.
Hi, my name is Heather. I'm from the University of North Florida. I'm a social scientist, and from my understanding, social sciences are included in STEM. Is that the case here? Would a grant for coming from the Department of Psychology be accepted as one of your sciences, or would that not be an appropriate fitting?
That is definitely appropriate. And I'm jumping back. That's why I really stressed that NSF defines STEM very broadly, i.e. everything that we fund: geosciences, biological sciences, computer science, engineering, education, human resources, math, physical sciences, and social, behavioral, and economic sciences are all considered part of STEM. And so what I really like about this program is we get proposals that touch upon all those areas, whether it's from geology or whether it's from social psychology, cultural anthropology, security and preparedness, method and measurement statistics. So if NSF funds it, it's considered STEM, and we would like to fund projects that are thinking about the ethical and responsible use of all the STEM sciences. So thank you very much, Heather, for that question.
Awesome, thank you.